The lecture makes 2 points. One is to survey what has happened with so-called transformative use, which is a gloss on our fair use exception. So the rise and perhaps receding of transformative fair use analysis. And the second point considers an overlooked aspect of our statute, which is also in the Singapore statute, which instructs courts to look at the impact of the use upon the potential market for or value of the work. The case law concentrates on the market impact without considering whether value of might have some independent meaning. And so it's my endeavor to give independent meaning to the concept of the value of a copyrighted work. One question would be, what difference does it make? Isn't that just another way of saying the potential market for the work? And besides that, as a general matter, one does not ascribe redundancy to the legislature, and therefore these terms should mean different things. They can mean at least two different things. One is that the statute instructs courts to be looking at the potential market for the work. So what is the effect on the sales of that work? But value of is broader than the harm to the work's markets, that the work might not have a market because the author might have decided to give the work away for free. A fairly standard business model on the internet is to give copyrighted works away for free as a loss leader for something else, whether that's a subscription to more copyrighted works or tickets to performances or so-called allegiance goods like t-shirts. The copyrighted work is a draw for those things which the author is selling, but the author is not actually selling the copyrighted work. The concept of value of the copyrighted work therefore takes into account all these other business models that are possible without actually selling the copyrighted work. So that's one respect in which value of can mean something different than market for. And the other concept is more closely tied in with authorship, because for many authors, the value of the work is reputational. But there's no reputational gain if a work is copied without attribution to the author. So that's a different type of value that is at issue. I have suggested that the question of authorship attribution should be part of the fair use analysis. In this lecture, I argue that attribution should be taken account of in considering what is the value of the copyrighted work. I've argued elsewhere that another place to consider authorship attribution is in the first fair use factor, the nature and purpose of the use. Is the nature of the use one that credits the author or not? So that would be another way of addressing the same concern. And this is a concern because both in the United States and at least presently in Singapore, authors do not have an affirmative statutory right to be recognized as the authors of their works. So one way to try to achieve that objective is indirectly through the fair use exception. One continuous impression is how fabulous the food is. Another impression that struck both my husband and me is how, notwithstanding all these buildings, this is an incredibly green city. There's foliage everywhere, even in the most densely built up parts of the city, and that is that may be unique. It's certainly very beautiful.